Hi everyone and welcome for this new weekly recap. Actually, it's basically a daily recap because I had the chance to trade only once in this week, and the results are not very nice. Small losers, apart from one trade that went completely wrong because of technical issues, but not great winners. I mean, just no winners, basically, just a few almost break-even trades. So I'm not very happy with it, but it is what it is, and it's time to move on. But before we do, let's get into these trades that I took. The first was on ICE, basically, which was having a good daily setup. Basically, it was a gap fill, huge gap fill, as you can see here on the daily chart. Basically, it had room from really the high of the previous day to almost 30. And it was moving nicely in pre-market, as you can see here on the 5-minute chart. I arrived a bit late and it never really pulled back on the 5-minute, and I wasn't sure whether to take the trades in this move higher. It wasn't too bad, but if you really look into it, there are only a few setups that are decent, like this candle here was very good. And maybe the break of this descending resistance here was another good setup. I waited, as I was pretty late on it, and said, okay, let's see if I can get like the first 5-minute candle to make a new high. And you can already guess where I entered, basically here, at 8:20 about, on this candle, at the break, 14:30. And this was the very first trade I took on Friday, and it was also pretty much a disaster. I wanted to stop here, like at 14:27, as the stock came back tapping 14:25, which was this kind of pivot here, and I couldn't break 14:30 again. So I said, okay, you're not showing a lot of strength. We're maybe already on the backside of the move. Possibly you don't want to go higher. So let's cut it here. The thing is that I usually use a keypad to exit my trades, and it wasn't properly working. It was connected, it was powered, but it didn't load the configuration for the hotkeys. So basically I clicked a few times and nothing happened, and between the moment where I realized which was the issue and I tried to get out, I sent a couple of orders through the order window to sell first at 14:23, and the stock dropped to 14:21, so I couldn't get out here. I basically managed to do it only 1 minute later, about here, 14:02. So I had a 28 cents loss, and about 25 cents slippage from where I wanted to sell. And that's how basically the day began. I was already in almost 30% to my max loss for the day in terms of how red I was, and I was frustrated, but I tried to keep my emotions under control, staying positive and not really focusing on what was going on there, but rather focusing on the setups. In that sense, I think I made a decent job, even though not an amazing one. We can see it also interesting that this candle here that broke through and came back down on the 5-minute basically started to make also a sort of descending resistance that was also quite well respected. Here you can see, and once it broke through properly, even maybe not here, but we can raise this one just a bit. As it broke through, it made a move, holding the low here about 1373. With a possible entry at around 14, you could have jump on it and sell with some profits. I didn't. I missed this opportunity. I think it spiked up pretty quickly. So maybe it wouldn't have been very easy to enter this one, but still it was an interesting thing to notice, and that's why I'm proposing it here as well in this recap. Then I took 3 trades on SOS, which on the daily wasn't great, but I was hoping for a move to 304 to 335, so right before the 200 EMA here, and again it made a very nice move here with this very good first 1 minute candle to make a new high, to be honest, which I didn't trade. I don't remember the reason, maybe I wasn't watching this one in this moment. And then again I took this first 5 minute candle to make a new high, and again the same similar setup occurred. This time I sold basically break even on this trade. The first trade I took here was basically right on this candle for the break of was it 304, and it went just a bit higher, 307, came back down, basically sold here at 303, so just 2 cents from 305, which was the breakout of 304, and sold back again in 303, and then I waited, and this was extended, I have to say. Yeah, maybe it wasn't really great trade, I guess. It was mainly caused by the idea that I was telling you here. So basically, if I chart this level 304, my idea was to get a chance to jump early on this one, as even if it was extended on the 5, going to 304 and trying to reach 335. As it came back down again, the setup was no longer there, so I decided to sell. Then again we had this interesting, I would say, setup here. You can see there was a descending resistance here on these candles. Then it broke through and made a new high on this candle here on the 5 minute chart. But if we put the descending resistance on the 5, tapping this 5 minute candle and maybe also this 5 minute candle here, we can basically do like this on the 5, we can see that the breakout was pretty clear, pretty nice. I missed it, just again. I was watching it, to be honest. The thing that I didn't like was that there was a resistance already at 304, then 307, so I said, I'm not sure, and basically I didn't take the setup. Once it got through, though, I said, okay, nice push up here, and the low are holding pretty well. This candle broke down a bit, but recovered immediately, and it was decent. I mean, the stop was theoretically here on this breakout, so I took this candle to make the first 1 minute candle to make a new high here. As you can see, it broke through again. My stop was here below this candle, so 308. After 308, tapped 307, went through the 9 EMA, couldn't hold it, sold for 5 cents, loser. And then the final trade on this one was after the open. Again, for an attempt, in this case I took it right here, basically. The attempt was to break again 304 and go higher. But I anticipated a bit because we were coming above view up here. It pulled back, held the view up. I said, maybe we can take a trade above 3 here. So I entered just a 3, and as it tapped 304 and came back down, I sold the 302. Indeed, it could have, I could have held longer. As you can see here, it didn't break view up again, but for me this wasn't strong. It was a harsh pullback over this daily level. It went higher, but it's fine. I mean, to get some profit, I should have held for way longer than I wanted. So that's okay. Final trade was on ENDP, and this was quite conditioned by the fact that I was in the red. I already took a few trades that didn't really work as I wanted, and so I really didn't want this to be a loser. And so I took basically only one trade here, and it was on this after the open, because we see this actually started ramping after the open. It never really pulled it back on the 5 here, apart on this candle, which was quite extended. And but still I say we can give it a go and see where it wants to go. I tried to anticipate this one by buying directly this first 1 minute candle to make a new high, which indeed wasn't too great considering the steepness of this descent, but it looked like it was holding the 9 EMA, so I entered here at 3, was it 307? Yeah, I entered here 307, so I anticipated a bit, and as it went to this high, let's say high at 312, and came back down again, it was looking like a false breakout again, shadowed by this topping tail candle, red candle, which we can see again proved to be a sort of descending resistance line. I said, okay, better get rid of this break even and forget about it. And then I didn't trade anything else for the day. And so there it goes. This was a very quick recap of the week. And a few things that I want to remind myself, maybe in this sort of diary I'm making also for you, but as I said, it's especially for me at this stage. The mental game was fine, which was important. Even though I had this stressful situation at the beginning, I didn't take trades that I had not planned somehow. Maybe they weren't great, but they were planned. So it's fine. The entries were okay. I'm still missing good ones for one reason or the other. In this case, this setup actually worked pretty well. Like the first candle failed, then the breakout of the wedge worked, kind of. So it's something interesting to keep in mind. And then nothing. I watched also the movements at the open, which I still don't trust trade zero to take, considering what happened in the past. But you can see here, this one was a very good breakout pre-market pivot. Like the breakout 264 actually went very well. Broke through here, pulled back just a bit, went to 287. Here it kind of worked, but there was this daily level in the middle, so it wasn't really the same setup. This one instead worked very nicely. As it broke through here, went up, came back down, not by a lot though, it stopped right on the 9 EMA here and then went straight up to 1496. This is a pretty big move from 1386 to 1496 with just a low of on this candle of 1372. So basically it's a possible not even a 20-cent stop for over $1 move. So that was a good one in my opinion, even though it was very choppy, and as you can see these candles are very wicky and whippy. But I think that's it for today, and hopefully I will be able to trade more next week. Actually, I don't really think so, but there's room for hope. And see you, stay green, and bye bye.